This is a real miracle of survival. I am very happy and very encouraged because we're really celebrating a miracle. I look at them as survivors. They went straight to the window, managed to jump down from the top floor, and thank God, physically, nobody was injured except some bruises and cuts. You can see, you can move, you are alive. Waking up in the morning to say, thank you, Almighty God, for giving me back another day to make the day the best you can, and mainly to spread the world with goodness and kindness. This is the message.
We're having coffee with our breaking news this morning because the U.S. Supreme Court just ruled in a majority conservative opinion that transgender athletes should, in fact, be banned from playing in youth sports in America. The court upholding two laws, one in West Virginia, one in Idaho, which have enacted a ban on transgender athletes. The conservative majority, Justice Kavanaugh, writing the dissent, saying although these individuals should be banned, they should still command respect, whether transgender or not. What does this mean in Washington state? We don't obviously know yet. Not only is this ruling brand new, but we also have really no indication of how things are going to play out here. What you likely see with these kinds of opinions at this sort of level is more legislation in states like Washington. Conservatives in Olympia may try to enact some kind of a law which makes it definitive and bans transgender athletes in Washington state sports. We'll have yet to see. But some 27 states in America have already tried to enact similar bans. All of them have conservative legislatures in their state. So that is not something you see here in Washington. So there you go. Breaking news, latest from the Supreme Court when it comes to transgender youth athletes, a ruling we've been waiting for a while.
Yakima, correct now?
Oh, yeah, sorry. We're westbound 96 from Yakima, about 30 miles an hour. Looking for a pit here. Wonderful pit here.
Prosecutors have decided not to file charges against two drivers involved in a state trooper's death last year. In December, trooper Tara Marissa Guting was hit by a car on Highway 509 near Tacoma. That driver pulled over before she was hit by a second car, which took off. The first driver told police he didn't see her due to the dark and rainy conditions. When police tracked down the second driver, he told them he thought he hit a pothole, not a person. The medical examiner also could not determine which impact killed Trooper Guting. And because of all of this, prosecutors say they cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that either driver committed a crime.
More than a year after the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project sued President Donald Trump for attempting to strike down birthright citizenship, Matt Adams is breathing a sigh of relief.
On the one hand, it should be clear. Every court that has looked at this has said, yes, the Constitution is unambiguous. Anyone who's born here is by right of the Constitution a U.S. citizen.
Adams, on behalf of three then pregnant women, filed the lawsuit. The women had varying immigration statuses and all worried for the futures of their unborn children.
Under Trump's policy that he enacted, their children who are born here would not be entitled to citizenship. They'd be left in limbo without any status.
It really was too close for comfort.
Constitutional law professor Andrew Siegel says the split among the justices was surprising.
I think that if you'd told anyone just a couple of years ago this issue before the Supreme Court, they would have thought that birthright citizenship would have been reaffirmed in a strong 9-0 or 8-1 opinion. And on the constitutional issues, it was 5-4.
As for the three women who took the first step in challenging the Trump administration,
and all are living here in the greater King County area and are healthy kids and are relieved now that they don't have this uncertainty, that they're not forced with this idea of family separation or having to return to countries they fled to because their children would not be permitted to remain here.
Ooh, you have delivered. This is everything that you loved this month?
When I bite into something, you've had that ratatouille feeling where it's just like you're whisked away into some ethereal place. These are the places. Daebak Wang Mandu. Federal Way is a hotbed for Korean food, and this one absolutely stands out. They specialize in noodles as well as dumplings, steamed dumplings, and this is called Mandu Korean steamed dumplings. And they have 3 different flavors: black rice buns, pork, and kimchi pork. The owner makes about 300 a day, and it usually sells out. After I finished 18 holes, I decided to eat at this restaurant. This is Pacifica Grill and Bar. Amazing. Look, when you go to golf courses, you're usually getting a club sandwich or a burger or something, right?
A little BLT, a little walk-in. Wow, that's a vibe in there. Look at that.
And then this is one of my favorite things I've eaten recently. It's called ota with taro chips. Kind of like island ceviche, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite places to go to Pioneer Square right now. It's Bottega Gabriele, and they specialize in Italian panini sandwiches. I have 2 for you, and it's pistachio mortadella. This is my absolute favorite. The other one is basically their all meats. It has andouille sausage, capicola, and salami.
Pacific Place in downtown Seattle has a new exhibit. It's kind of scary. Tell me more.
It's really scary, Kelly. It is called Mind of a Serial Killer, and we are getting inside the minds of a lot of serial killers, including University of Washington's very own Ted Bundy, Gary Ridgway. So there is a Seattle connection, and we are getting inside the minds of these serial killers so we can make sure that we don't become a killer or get killed.
Oh, yes. And you know what? I feel like with that, we should just stop there.
That right there.
Go see it. Tease.
Go see it.
This is part of Alaska Airlines emergency training. Every flight attendant has to practice using the evacuation slide before they're ever responsible for helping passengers during an emergency.
Do a little hop, or you can sit down. I'll let you choose, and then I'll show you the rest of it.
Okay, let's see it. Okay. This is what it would be like, and you're just telling everybody to go?
Yeah.
The hop is what I think maybe is the weird thing.
Feet first, out.
Okay.
You got it. Jump.
Oh, okay. It's so fun. Once you do it once, you're like, okay.
I'm outside Seattle Stadium, and I want to introduce you to a match made in soccer heaven. This is Brooke and Landon. They met back in 2005 when they were home from their freshman years of college, coaching some youth soccer with the very popular Skyhawks program here in Washington State. They've now made it their goal to go to as many World Cup matches as possible. This World Cup couple has made 7 matches in 2 weeks for the 2026 World Cup. LA for US versus Paraguay, Vancouver for Australia versus Turkey, Seattle for Belgium versus Egypt, Dallas for England versus Croatia, then a stop to their current home in Denver before heading back to Vancouver for New Zealand versus Egypt and returning to Seattle again for Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Qatar and Egypt versus Iran. And a note for you, that familiar face in one of their photos at the Seattle Stadium match is King 5's own Rich Marriott catching up with his daughter, Brooke. Now, as a full-time couple, they made it to several matches at 2 men's World Cups and a women's World Cup, and best believe they'll be in Brazil next year for the 2027 Women's FIFA World Cup. To see their full story, just head over to king5.com.
As a constitutional scholar, what do you make of the positioning and the makeup of the court and the decisions that we've seen recently come from the highest court in the land?
It's pretty staggering. I mean, this court, more than any other court in my memory, is a partisan court. And the 6-justice majority doesn't seem concerned about being out of step with the American public or the constitutional tradition. They have very strong views, and they're pursuing them aggressively. It has a big impact in terms of the substance of the rulings. Every year there's another decision, whether it's abortion, affirmative action, presidential immunity, kind of uproots something fundamental, and does so really in the name of a court that thinks it knows best about everything. I definitely think that these substantive policies are going to be issues going forward, but the very power of the court and the structure of the court is going to be a big issue going forward. Attempts to limit the court's power, to expand the court, to strip it of jurisdiction, are very much going to be on the forefront of the electoral agenda in the next election.
They started dragging me, grabbed me by my hair. The dog had my belly in his mouth, and I was telling her I was pregnant. Please help, don't let him kill my baby. I was just thinking about my unborn child and then my other 3 kids, because I was like, this is gonna be horrible. Like, you know, I'm gonna die being eaten by dogs, you know, and I have 3 kids that I'm gonna leave behind.
Stop doing this. It hurts families, it hurts business owners. It's not free stuff. It hurts my employees, and it just makes it so much harder to keep this business going. It's frustrating. We don't want to be going through this. We just want to be open. We want to make coffee for people, and it's getting hard for all the local businesses.
We're at the Jungle in Olympia, a homeless encampment where U.S. Marshals found a young woman who is believed to be sex trafficked here all the way from Arizona. She's safe now and receiving victim services after federal agents found her June 25th after tracing her to this encampment, part of a 20-acre wooded area behind local businesses here in Olympia. The owner of this RV dealership showed us how he and other business owners have put up cameras and some even fences to deter loitering and trespassing. Earlier this month, the Olympia City Council extended an agreement that gives the city the option to buy the privately owned portion of this land for about $3 million. City leaders say the goal here is to eventually close or condense the camp with the hope of helping people into housing here, but the mayor says he doesn't expect that to happen this year. Local businesses tell me it can't come soon enough.
Here in the Pacific Northwest, we're always talking about saving our orcas or our salmon streams. There are other small treasures here, though, that don't get nearly as much press. This is one of them. This is a prairie that's here on Whidbey Island. You don't hear much about prairies in the Northwest because there are very, very few of them. This particular prairie used to stretch from southern Vancouver Island all the way to northern California, and now less than 3% of it remains. There are organizations out here that are trying to save it, but they are in the midst of federal DOGE budget cuts, other state cuts as well. Their funding has been incredibly restricted. Now their efforts to simply save this land are in question, let alone to expand it. And worst case scenario, they say they may have to sell this land to someone who may not have the same intentions that they have.
As of right now, we have 6 cameras. On July 1st, we'll have 10 to go statewide. The first year of the program, or 12, 14 months or so, we were at $0 for the first infraction. And people did perceive that first infraction as a $0 warning. But as of July 1st, the legislature last year decided to change the value from $0 to $125. The second and subsequent infractions after that still stay at $248.
When you see the results like we have seen with the decrease in the speed, it does make you feel like you're doing something positive and you're protecting people.
We're in an apartment building called Art Space Everett Lofts, where the elevator here hasn't worked since May 20th. It's a place where there are a lot of seniors, a lot of disabled folks. They are effectively being held prisoner in their own apartments here. Management says they don't know when this elevator will be fixed. Code enforcement from the city of Everett gave them until July 27th to get the elevator fixed. That was 2 days ago, and still no word as to when things will be back up and operating.
It happened on Father's Day this past Sunday, and my dad, he likes to do something for Father's Day. I think last year we went out to eat at a restaurant, and then this year he wanted to do like a carne asada, like a little barbecue in the back for the family.
He never got to enjoy that Father's Day barbecue.
When my mom came in and was calling out to me, I thought, oh, my dad's probably with her. So my initial thought, it wasn't necessarily to go to her, but to be like, let me tell my dad Happy Father's Day, because I don't know how to explain it. I just knew they're both here. Let me go hug him, tell him Happy Father's Day. And when she came in alone, I was just like, something's wrong.
So you never got to say that?
No.
You never got to say Happy Father's Day?
Mm-mm. I didn't see him until the day after.
Jose Robles Galeana was on his way home after getting groceries in Lakewood.
And it was still like a toll of emotions that I completely forgot. Oh, it was literally on Father's Day.
Just gave us like 1 minute. I mean, they said, just come now. We said, we have pets. They said, get your pets, that's it, and come out now. All of a sudden, the power went off. And we looked outside again and thought, okay, this is really strange, looking around, trying to see. We came out front to see what was going on, and the fire department had arrived, and they were around the laundry room, and all of a sudden there was a big explosion coming from it seemed the direction of the laundry room, a big explosion where you could almost kind of feel it, it was very close. People came out, there was an explosion that had come out of a bedroom window and broke the glass coming out of the bedroom window. And then the fire department just about 20 minutes ago came and knocked on the door and said, everybody has to go, you have to leave right now.
In a rare move, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services issued a notice for former clients of Alexandra Lozano. You can see the notice for yourself if you go to uscis.gov and click on that link. It says important notice for clients of former immigration attorney Alexandra Lozano. The top paragraph kind of goes through what had happened to her and how she resigned from the Washington State Bar and what you are supposed to do next. And what you are supposed to do next is to file a change of address form so that you continue to receive communication regarding your immigration case from USCIS. I reached out to USCIS to ask how many people might have been impacted, and they told me that they sent out that email and that notice to 115,000 people, but they did clarify that anyone can subscribe to that email listserv, so that's not an accurate count, but we do know from her resignation documents from the Washington State Bar Association that she had almost 54,000 active cases that had her signature on it.
We're here in Winthrop, and this is one of the areas that the Hamilton fire ripped through, and it is just devastating to see how close this got to the homes here. As a reminder, wildfires affect everyone, down to the most vulnerable. Last night, while we were covering this fire here, we found this injured fawn struggling to get out of the road. We helped clear the way to get it over to the other side of the road and watched as it crawled into a bush and settled down. Now, we don't know exactly how it was hurt or whether its injuries were caused by the fire, but we didn't see its mom anywhere, and it was just heartbreaking and a reminder that when fire moves through a community, people aren't the only ones that are impacted.
The crab legs right here? What's that? I already got a jacket full of crab. What's that? Those are crab in there. I can see that they're crab. Does she have crab in her bra? It looks like she does.
4 people have been criminally cited after hiding 24 Dungeness crabs in their clothing. It happened a couple of weeks ago in Tokeland in southwest Washington. The State Department of Fish and Wildlife says the group even had extra pockets sewn into their clothing to store more crabs. They were cited for failing to submit catch for inspection and undersized crab.
There is a new warning out for the millions of Americans who use off-brand versions of GLP-1 weight loss drugs. Those drugs are typically manufactured by small compounding pharmacies, and the nonprofit Partnership for Safe Medicines calls it an enormous, unsanctioned human trial that is unsafe and unethical. The partnership says telehealths market their GLP-1s online as just as safe and effective as name brands like Zepbound or Ozempic, which are FDA approved. But the partnership's research has found more than 50 telehealths have received FDA warning letters this year alone for false and misleading claims. In our series, Selling Skinny, we've reported on one of them here in Washington State, Mochi Health, that state inspectors cited for all kinds of violations. Yet San Francisco-based Mochi remains in business selling its GLP-1s nationwide. To read more about the Partnership for Safe Medicine's Call to Action report, visit safemedicines.org online, and you can also catch up with our series by searching King 5 Selling Skinny on YouTube or on the King 5 Plus app.
Seattle University is getting its first woman president. The school has named Dr. Mara Mast as its next president, the first woman selected to lead the university in its 134-year history. Here's one more thing to put it all into perspective. Seattle University has had 22 male presidents before her. Dr. Mast is a mathematician by training and currently serves as Dean of Fordham College at Rose Hill in New York. She'll officially take over on September 1st. For a university founded in 1891, it is a milestone that's more than a century in the making.
Firefighters were already evacuating residents when this explosion happened. I'm Bethany on the King News Desk. Tacoma Fire says crews were responding to smoke caused by an electrical malfunction and had already started evacuating residents when the blast happened, about 20 minutes after they arrived on scene. No one was injured. One building remains evacuated while the American Red Cross is assisting displaced residents at Hunt Middle School.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is something you assess day to day just based on how they're feeling and where they're at. But at the same time, we will have to make some adjustments like we said before because, we are kind of one man down in the bullpen. And, I think these guys are willing to do just about what they need, just about anything they need to do to make that work. And but at the same time, we have to be smart with guys and understand where they're at too. So it's just a combination. Again, it shifts from day to day, depending on usage and whatnot. And it's a conversation that we have every single day and talk about it. And we're all on board when we go out there for the ball game.